Nobody's perfect. Perfection's a fairy tale. And if you know that perfection's a fairy tale, stop trying to be perfect online, start being yourself. So if you're listening to this and you're like, all this time I've kept, personal and professional separate, it's okay because that's the way it was working before. Times have changed now. I close more speaking gigs for people that say, Brian, I love that you share pictures of your daughters and you had this one quote of what your daughter said and it got me excited. And I went to your website. Then I realized I really need to have someone talking about millennials. And then I hired you. And I'm like, dude, you've been following me for 2 years. You've listened to all of my videos, all of my podcasts. He's like, yeah, but it was something about your dedication to being a dad that resonated with me. And for me, that's ROI of being myself online right there.
Hey y'all, welcome to Selling with Social, the podcast that helps marketers increase marketing qualified leads, sales reps to shatter sales results, and sales leaders to grow as leaders. Each show, we interview sales, marketing, and social media practitioners, leaders, and influencers to help you connect, close more deals, build stronger relationships with clients, and improve your sales productivity. I'm Mario Martinez Jr. You're now listening to Selling with Social. Today's guest on Selling with Social is none other than Brian Fanzo. Brian Fanzo is an amazing thought leader in the social strategy and change leadership space. Last year alone, Brian keynoted in 11 countries at more than 40 events, highlighting his passion for change, collaboration, and community. He is a millennial and an amazing strategist when it comes to leveraging social to attract one's targeted audience. Please help me welcome to the show, Brian Fanzo. Brian Fanzo, man, I am so excited to have you here on Selling with Social. Thank you for joining the show here. It's an awesome privilege to be sitting here with you, a millennial, a super brilliant guy. You've spoken, I think it was 50 speaking events in 14 different countries. Is that the number? 11
different countries, but a country here or there, give or take.
Okay, all right. Well, I want to be like Brian. That's what I want to be like. So thanks, man, for joining us today on Selling with Social.
Oh, thanks for having me on. Excited to be here. Yeah, it's a fun ride. We were talking pre-show about kind of the roller coaster, and last year was 50 events in 11 countries, and this year I've booked. It's funny, international kind of comes in at I think all at once. So I have 6 new countries in 2017. So I say, get out the passport. I'm ready to go.
Well, you're an excellent speaker, and I really enjoy a lot of the stuff that I see from you, especially videos that I see and clips, and I think our audience is in for a definite treat today. We've got folks listening in sales, we've got marketers, we've got social media managers. This is truly up your alley. I know that you did a lot of conversations and shows related to social selling. You've done things, obviously, a leader in social media in terms of being an influencer. So I've spoken a little bit about you, but do us a favor, tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
I call myself a change evangelist. And really what that means for me is I've had a really dynamic, weird background. I've actually never had a job in marketing, believe it or not. I came with a computer science degree. I worked for the Department of Defense for 9 years as a government contractor, deploying and managing cybersecurity solutions, as well as social business collaboration software. So my job was trying to get the Army to share with the Navy, the Air Force with the Marines. So anybody who said they had a really hard collaboration job, I say I had a harder one with trying to get those people to share policies, and it was cybersecurity policies on top of it. So not only do I want the Army to share with the Navy, but I want them to share something that is super high sensitive and something that is high touch. I worked there for 9 years, left the government. I loved the job. I worked at an enterprise company, 25,000 employees. I had 34 direct reports that we were running these training classes around the world. We would train, we would deploy, and then we would certify the active duty military. So I did 3 trips to Iraq, 2 to Afghanistan, pretty much every military base in the US, we were deploying this course. And then I left and went, crazy enough, to a data center company. If cyber wasn't kind of like boring and out in its own land, I went to like the most boring technology that exists in like data center landscape. But I took a job, really was my dream job. I wanted to be a technology evangelist, which was kind of modeled after Robert Scoble from Microsoft and Guy Kawasaki at Apple. Those were guys that I looked up to in college. And I worked directly to the CEO, and I had a dotted line to the CMO and a dotted line to the CIO. And my job was to enable the community and conversation from our customers and clients and partners to the actual production team and the sales team. And that's where I kind of got my start in social selling. We ended up completely revamping the entire sales team as we were revamping from a data center company to a cloud computing company. So we were transforming all over in those areas. And then about 3 years ago now it's been, I decided I wanted to make kind of a bigger change. And I loved my startup. I loved my enterprise. And for some reason I said, hey, let's go try entrepreneurship. And so I decided to go out on my own about 3 years ago. And now I work with brands of all sizes on helping them tell their digital story and reach kind of that millennial type customer. And then, of course, the speaking business as well, which my home is definitely on stage. And I also host 2 podcasts as well. So keep myself busy, growing in the world of social, but that's the fast background. And I know I talk fast. So the good news is if you're listening to this on podcast, you can always slow down podcasts. People that watch me on stage, they don't have that opportunity. So that's my background. And that's why I kind of say I'm a change evangelist in the sense I've had lots of change in my career. And I've gone through a lot of change with the businesses I've worked with.
And Brian, do me a favor. Tell us the 2 podcasts that you actually host. I want to make sure we put that into the show notes for those that are listening in.
Sure. So the first one we're on our 75th episode is called Smack Talk, SMACTALK. And SMAC stands for Social, Mobile, Analytics, and Cloud. So we cover kind of trying to help that, I'd say middle manager to small, medium-sized business owner understand emerging technology. Someone told me at an event that you had to have a niche to launch a podcast. And so I launched that podcast the very next day, trying to prove them wrong and said, I'm going to talk about the 4 very drastic, large topics, and I'm not going to have a niche. And my co-host is Daniel Newman, my business partner, and we've done 75 shows. It's currently sponsored by Adobe and Cisco at the moment, and really enjoy that one. And then I launched my own podcast, a solo one, and it's called FOMO Fans, which is FOMOFANZ, which is my last name has the FANZ part of it. And that one's the fear of missing out is what FOMO stands for. And it's a solo show. I talk about everything from social media to technology to personal branding. I just pushed out my 18th episode on that one this week, and it's blown up. It's without question my most successful project that I've ever had. It's kind of reaping the benefits of I have an amazing digital community. So those are the 2 places. Smack Talk and FOMO Fans are the 2 podcasts I have out there now.
Yeah, nice. Well, we'll make sure we put that into the show notes for those that are listening. Do me a favor. Tell us one thing nobody would know by looking at any of your social profiles, something about Brian.
I played semi-professional poker for about 2.5 years, and I did it full time. And I think some people know that about me because I actually use so many of the people reading skills and things. But I actually left on my own accord with plenty of money in the bank from a standpoint of wins. It's probably my proudest moment is because I played in the World Series of Poker for 4 years. I was sponsored by Full Tilt Poker. Loved the game. I'm not a math guy. I'm a people person. So I use my talking skills at a table, kind of take advantage of that. But I decided at this one point in my career, my 3rd daughter was just being born, and I said, man, poker's a grind, kind of like entrepreneurship. And I made the decision I'm going to go all in on entrepreneurship because I can play poker 10 years from now, 15 years from now. That's not going anywhere. But that's probably the thing that most people don't realize. And they probably don't realize so much of what I learned studying poker for 2 years, I use every day on video, every day on stage. And that's probably my favorite one to share that might surprise a lot of people.
I love asking that question because you never know what you're going to get from somebody.
I can imagine. It's a wide range.
It's a wide range. And as long as people are willing to share, you get some good discussion there. Well, look, I want to move into some of the content here and some depth. And one of the things I want to talk about is as we think about the change in buyer behavior and access to information that is more prevalent and accessible than any other time period that, the last 15, 20 years, how has that affected marketing and social media marketing today?
Oh, I love that question. And so to set the stage, like my hero, my mentor is my dad. And my dad was a candy salesman. He started a peanut brittle company, which was Old Dominion Peanut. They ended up selling that to Mars Candy. Big sales guy. He's always been in sales, grew all of his candy sales business. And my dad is a handshake guy. He's still to this day, he's consulting. He drives everywhere. No business has ever closed without a handshake. And the reason I bring that up is I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My grandfather always told me, he had 3 channels on his TV, but he didn't have a remote control. So really, he only had 1 channel per day because he didn't want to get up to change the TV. And so for him, content, what he had, the amount of information, the news flow for him was 1 channel on a TV and a newspaper that got delivered in the morning that was probably printed at 4 p.m. the day before. And today we have 100 opportunities to get news on our phone. That's not even including, the internet or the TV. And so with all of this kind of digital distraction, all of this input, I think it turned into a great thing, but it also became an overwhelming thing. And it came one of these things where I believe over the last 9 years or so, we've leveraged digital and social to get further away from the person, the customer, the client. And as we got further away, we were able to fake more things. We were able to kind of distance ourselves. And then over the last year and a half or so, people have kind of realized that, hey, I can't trust somebody, or the handshake that my dad always talked about, that's still extremely important. But how do we get that to kind of come across in this digital world? And I like to think of podcasting and video as this, we're coming back to this world where, and I said it on one of the shows that I was hosting, my dad texted me and said, son, I love all you're doing, everything you're doing in social media. It's so powerful. He goes, but I want you to remember one thing. Social media will never replace a handshake. And I was on air and I read that. And I was like, you know what, Dad? You are right. And I know he was watching and I was like, you are 100% right. But what social media is enabling today is if you do it right, it gives you the opportunity to have more handshakes. Yeah. And then I said, it also turns some of those handshakes, those first impressions, into hugs and selfies, is what I said. Yeah. And for me, that's kind of like the way that I wrap this whole world around is those that are doing this well and understand social media is social and digital is about the people behind there. You don't follow someone, you don't email someone because you like their account or their digital presence. It's the person. And I think we kind of forgot that for a little while. And I think we're coming back around full circle now. But I look at all of the data, all of the content that's out there. And the way I put it is we still have to trust the human that's actually creating it. And that's where we're moving towards. And it's the most exciting thing for me because I think that's where the people that have been faking it and the people that are really have been leveraging digital in a way that doesn't make sense are going to get exposed. And all the ones that kind of either have been waiting or have been doing it the right way but been drowned out, the tide's going to start to rise for them. So I'm excited that we stay where we're at. But I like to kind of set that stage because for me, I do believe it doesn't replace handshakes, but it does give me, the global handshakes, my business partner, the events I'm speaking at, 2 of my current employees, I never met them in person. They're in foreign countries that I all have been able to make that work all thanks to social and marketing.
So I cannot disagree with you. I think when you think about the digital age of personalization that we live in today, social media marketing tactics. In times past, we were trying to create messaging to hit our buyer persona. Now we can really laser focus that in and narrow that down to a very specific individual in a specific age group and understand their behaviors of things that they like, don't like, what they want, what they don't want, whether you're on the marketing side and as important is on the sales side as well, in terms of watching those cues of what people are saying out on social and engaging or not engaging with, right?
Without question. I always say, if you are asking yourself or you're saying in a meeting, I don't know what my customer wants, or I don't understand my user behaviors, you're not looking. Because in this world today, the data is there. The question becomes, are you okay with finding it and realizing it might not say what you want it to say?
Right.
And are you willing to invest to look in the right places? Because I do a lot of things with the personal branding side where we do strategic social listening, where I can predict even your competitors' behaviors based on what LinkedIn group they join, right? And a lot of these things, it's very public data, but if you put a lot of the puzzles together, they tell a very interesting story. But you have to be willing to look and, like you said, strategically engage. And I also believe in this day and age, you must go to where your customer is. You can't do the field of dreams. If I build a website, if I build it, they will come. You must go to where they're at, start the conversation, then they'll come to you.
Yeah, great point. You talk a lot about telling your story and using a story to make impact. I want to spend a little bit of time, especially because we both focus in on helping entrepreneurs and salespeople. You also extend that out to social media marketers and marketers in terms of your world. But just focusing on entrepreneurs and salespeople today, how can an entrepreneur and a salesperson tell their story and make an impact with their targeted buyers?
So, it's a very interesting space because as we got more noise of course, it became harder to stand out, which kind of makes sense. But I think we also became kind of a copycat digital society where we said, I like what Mark Cuban's doing. I'm going to start posting and doing the exact same thing as Mark Cuban. And then you come back and say, nobody can find me. No, I don't stand out. And you're like, well, you're now the exhaust of Mark Cuban. You're not, what has really made you really good in what you're doing. And so when I look at this whole concept, I have a pretty easy saying. I just launched a course on it. It just says, be yourself. And what being yourself really means to me is what makes you a great salesperson offline is your personality, your story. And I preach this on every stage I go to. What you do or what you're selling is boring and nobody cares. That's not the key. The key is why you're doing it, how it's going to impact that person, and then also how they get involved in the story and the creation. And so when I look at entrepreneurs and sales teams, I know that in the past, it was kind of like well, this is my personal online profile and this was my professional online profile. And I would share this, but I wouldn't share that. But the problem now is to stand out, you have to be the one thing that nobody else can be, which is yourself. And that means sharing a little bit of both sides. I'm not one that say that you have to be transparent with everything, but I'm a very transparent person because what I've decided is I'm gonna share and be very open, and I'm gonna take my lumps where I'm gonna lose a customer or a client because they might learn that I had tattoos or that I play poker or sometimes I wear a hat on stage. But I also will gain people that are saying, I want you to help us embrace change. I want you to help us reach a millennial customer. Well, that's because I'm standing out by doing what I'm doing. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're thinking about your story, I always start with ask your best friend and your worst enemy what they think you do and what your story is. And you're probably going to get like two kind of like what I like to call swim lanes. And then you kind of form your story in the middle. And most entrepreneurs are really good at sharing why they're doing what they're doing, what they're passionate about, what the purpose is. The weird thing is you put them in front of digital a lot of times and they all of a sudden say like, I am a salesperson of SaaS-based software. And you're like, what? Like
Holy
you were
crap.
just, yeah, like you were just in that networking group and you had that entire group, laughing and having a grand time because of all of these things that made up who you are. And so I look at storytelling as my favorite thing to study because one of the things that I always tell people, especially in sales, I think we all probably have that friend where if you go to a fast food restaurant, even not even fast food, sit down restaurant, every time you go out, that person's food is messed up. Every time. And you have to think, is it because the people ordering are always really bad at taking his order or her order? Or is it because they're not very good at telling a story that actually delivers to the audience, which is the waiter or the cashier, that makes sense to be able to translate it and get your order correct? And that's how I break down storytelling. Storytelling, if it's LinkedIn, it's a different audience and a different type of consumer. Therefore, what you craft and how you do it will be different in a LinkedIn space versus a Twitter space, which is fly-by-night, water cooler style, 140 characters versus what you want to present in an RFP, right? And I think when you start thinking of storytelling, we know that the story is different depending on the person offline. But when we go online, sometimes we just go, okay, well, I need to tell my digital online story. I'm going to tell the same thing across every platform, but yet the audience is different, the platform's different, the user behaviors are different. So I love talking storytelling. I believe that if you can start intertwining who you are and why you do what you do in your digital story, that's truly how you'll stand out, much more so than just creating content that is only about what you do.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was recently on a call with somebody and we were talking about sharing of content. And they said, Mario, I'm not getting engagement with some of the content that I'm sharing with my targeted buyers. And I said, all right, well, let's take a look at what you're sharing, first of all. So we took a look at what he was sharing. And then I said, well, let's take a look at, the content you're sharing is good content, right? It's the appropriate content. It's the mix that your buyers are looking for. But now let's take a look at what you're saying. All you're doing, and this is the challenge with some of the employee advocacy tools that are out there today, is they're in the tool, they hit share, and it takes the title of the article and puts it in as a status post. You're just giving crap. That's all you're giving. How are you going to stand out amongst this giant newsfeed? Which, by the way, our buyers are looking at these newsfeeds. Like if you think about the fact that we take our phones to the bathroom with us,
right?
Right?
Yep.
We're sitting there and we're swiping and we're swiping and we're swiping. We're looking for something that's going to catch our attention. So I said, is this you? When you write this post, is that you just writing a title? Is that what you would walk in and say, Mr. Customer, here's an article, here's the title, and I thought this would help you? Would you say that, or would you actually add some color? Would you add some context? Would you add some information? Would you add something that kind of brings out the life of this article? And he was like, no, I'd bring it out. So we constructed one. The very next day he published it, he had over 40 different comments and likes on that thing, going from 0 to 40, just by changing the way they engage with their targeted community. So I get you in terms of standing out.
I love that. And I always tell people follow you for you, not for the title that someone else has done. And I love the way you brought that, because I do a lot of work in the employee advocacy space, probably my favorite space of all of the arenas. And at IBM, when we originally were doing kind of their rollout, I was consulting with them, and IBM originally in their tool, it was literally just the title and the 2 hashtags, and then everybody's feed was the exact same thing. Now they've blocked it where the title doesn't even auto-populate at all. You must put your own in there. So I agree. It's definitely one of those things where you have to get past the checkbox of just saying you're doing it if you want results, right? Anybody can click the automated, click the thing, but if people are following you for you must add your own insights. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that's such a key point. I really hope employee advocacy tools still have a long way to go. It's a very frustrating space, but I hope more of them kind of listen to this and realize the importance of that.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. And that's some of the things that I've been evangelizing, because, we do advocacy as well, especially on the sales side, sales advocacy. And that has definitely been a challenge with a lot of the marketing teams. They're focusing on, let's make sure we get that hashtag inside there. Well, who cares about the hashtag, right? If you can't attract your audience with what it is you're saying. And that's why it's interesting. I will tell you, and a lot of my peers have actually bashed me for this. You'll see things on LinkedIn where I just did a picture a couple days ago where I said, can I get a what on LinkedIn, right? That's right. Me. I'm from the West Coast. That's, I grew up as a poor guy in the streets of San Francisco in the Mission, right? So that's me, right? So I will use language like that. And some people like it, some people don't. So I think people just need to, I think you said something earlier, and I love it. I'm going to rephrase it, which is my saying, to be successful is to be human. Yes. And I think that people need to remember that when engaging with social, if you're a marketer or a salesperson, to be successful is to be human. And that's what people are attracted to.
Without question. My favorite compliment when I get off stage, without question, I get off stage or I meet anybody, the first thing they say, if they say, Brian, you're the same person online as you are offline, that's everything. Because guess what? I am a human, right? And if you're able to convey that exact same thing, all of the success that you have offline can now be transitioned online. And let's face it, online opens up doors and opportunities that we could never physically scale ourselves in the offline world. So I love that. Without question, it's that human characteristic that is what is the key for sure.
Awesome. We're on this topic here. Tell me, why is it that entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, salespeople, even marketers themselves are so afraid to actually leverage social networks on their personal LinkedIn accounts, personal Twitter accounts, personal faith? Why is everybody so afraid to touch these social networks?
I think it's 2 things. I think it's scare tactics by old school marketers and PR that have come out for the longest time, and they push all of the bad news. Like, oh my goodness, this person posted that they went to this fraternity and all of a sudden a keg stand picture from 14 years ago came out and they got fired, right? Like, that's what we get pushed out there. But then we don't talk about all of the success stories. I'm a huge fan that you must celebrate your wins if you want to drive change. Nobody's going to change with you unless you celebrate why the change happened and those that are embracing change. But I also think it's a changing in times. I think 5 years ago, it made sense to kind of have a kind of the church and state. You kept things different. But now it's more of, let's face it, Facebook owns the internet. There's 1.9 billion users on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I don't ever like the online versus offline conversation, because if you're treating them like 2 different worlds, then you're, of course, going to get 2 different results. And I think for so many people, though, they kind of say, like, I own a room, I can stand out, and people, I close deals because when I'm in that room offline, it just hits them. And then I say, well, what do you do differently online? Yeah, I wouldn't wear that shirt on my online videos. I'm not going to talk with my hands. I'm going to have perfect lighting. And I'm like, wait a second, all of those things that didn't exist in your offline world, why are you? And I think it's this, it's also one of these weird spaces where if you look at the celebrities or the success stories, there's still kind of like a hierarchy of like, I need Richard Branson's budget to have a Richard Branson show. Or even, in my space, Gary Vaynerchuk. And Gary Vaynerchuk has the Ask Gary Vee show. And he has because he has a big budget. He's a big guy. He has the studio. And all of a sudden now, and I'm a big live video person, is where I spend a lot of my time. your phone has a better camera, a video camera. It's connected to the internet, and it can give you the same power as all of these studios. And so I really look at the reason it's hard, and it's twofold. The other part of this is, and it's going to come off harsh, but I think especially your sales audience is going to understand. If you suck offline, you're going to suck online. That transitions very easily. And I think for a lot of people, it is scary to put yourself online because it's a little bit more permanent, right? It's a little bit more, it exists. But I always use this story. I worked for the government. I had a high security clearance. But one of the things, I was hanging out with one of my good buddies that I play hockey with, and he's an FBI agent. And he was telling me these stories about the FBI. And they used to, in the early 2000s, if you had ever smoked marijuana in your entire life, you could not be an FBI agent. They forbade it completely across the board. Well, they had a problem. They weren't able to find enough FBI agents that hadn't met that criteria.
Right.
And so they started to loosen it up to like 5 years. If you hadn't smoked in 5 years. Well, now the criteria is if you hadn't dealt or sold marijuana in the last 5 years, you can become an FBI agent. And why I tell that story is because times have changed. Not only what we've changed, but I mean, I think the marijuana and the keg stands have always happened. And thank goodness Snapchat didn't exist when I was in college. But but at the same time, now we just have more exposure. And I like to say it comes back to this human piece. I'm a big believer in empathy. And I think as we become more exposed and we start sharing more of all of these human characteristics, we're going to start to increase empathy because we're going to start to realize that nobody's perfect. Perfection's a fairy tale. And if you know that perfection's a fairy tale, stop trying to be perfect online, start being yourself. And I do think it's a changing in the time. So if you're listening to this and you're like, all this time I've kept, personal and professional separate, it's okay because that's the way it was working before. Times have changed now. I close more speaking gigs for people that say, Brian, I love that you share pictures of your daughters and you had this one quote of what your daughter said and it got me excited. And then I went to your website. Then I realized I really need to have someone talking about millennials. And then I hired you. And I'm like, dude, you've been following me for 2 years. You've listened to all of my videos, all of my podcasts. He's like, yeah, but it was something about your dedication to being a dad that resonated with me. And for me, that's ROI of being myself online right there. Perfect example.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Recently I was with another social selling influencer, and we were having a discussion of what's appropriate and what's not appropriate on LinkedIn as an example. And I think Twitter is that great personal and business. It's really that combo. Facebook, it's really purely personal, although you definitely can use it for business. And LinkedIn, people keep putting LinkedIn into this box that only business-related content should be shared. And my challenge was, wait a minute. No. People do business with people that they want to know, like, and trust. And they need to know who you are. So if that's the platform that they're using, you need to be able to articulate those types of scenarios. Great example. My wife and I, one of our large clients is actually a NFL team. And we happened to go to the stadium, at Levi Stadium here in Santa Clara, the San Francisco 49ers stadium. And it was for the Beyonce concert. Now, I posted a picture of my wife and I on LinkedIn at the Beyonce concert. Now, why did I do that? Well, one, that's not Facebook. We're not sharing selfies of husband and wife like where I'm at. But actually what it was is this was an opportunity for me to be able to say thank you to one of our largest NFL clients for allowing us to be able to be part of their suite. This is a fantastic group of sales guys. If you're looking for a place to host your next event, this is where you want to come. So I use it as an opportunity to showcase something on the personal side, right?
Yep.
But also to help sell them and
without
the event location, because that's what they sell as events, right? They sell spots for events. When you do something like that and you add some sort of personal humanization to, I think, LinkedIn as an example, and that's probably the best example to use, you've got to make sure you weave it back into a business application. And then everybody's going to be like, okay, that makes sense. Now you're going to have some naysayers, like I had this person tell me that they felt it was inappropriate. Frankly, I don't care.
Well, you know what? And here's the thing. I want those naysayers to continue to do that. Because if you want to stand out, think about it from that news feed, scrolling through same blog post, somebody updated their profile picture on LinkedIn. You're like, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that San Francisco State. Wait, he's thanking his client. Who's his client? Oh my goodness. This is his business. Exactly. Oh, he does here's his website. All of a sudden I'm there. Right. And I love that, when everyone's zigging, zag. Don't be afraid to do that. And also something you said there, I believe every digital action you take is a way of telling your story. And you can be extremely strategic with every digital decision you make without it coming across as a strategic approach, right? Because I'm the same way. I post a lot of things where I posted a promo for an event that I'm speaking at. And the way I promoted it was my own graphic, and I created it. And they came back to me like, Brian, we got more signups with your link than we have on anything we've ever posted. What was your reasoning? And I was like, I wanted something that stood out from a picture. I presented the fact I'm presenting a brand new keynote before, and I'm extremely nervous. I hope people show up. And that's completely different than everyone else that's speaking at this event that is biggest names in the world. And they're all like, hey, Peyton Manning speaking, right? It's a Marketo Nation, Marketo, the automation software. And for them, when they reached out, I was laughing. So I was like, that's why I did it. Like strategically, I said, I'm going to do what a lot of the other ones are doing, but I'm going to be strategic on the word placement, how I do it. And I'm going to bring people on that journey, because if they know who I am, me sharing that, they're going to be like, well, I'm going to go support it. I'm going to at least go share it out, or I'm going to read why all of a sudden is Brian presenting something brand new at this big event. I think I'm so glad the way you put that out there, because I do believe every digital action, every group you sign up on, every like to a post, especially LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn does a really good job of dynamically switching your feed to see what other people are liking. Yeah. Therefore, strategically like content. Let's think about this. Just like you would strategically put your business card certain places, and you're strategically following up on emails. I put a sticky note on my monitor. Go back to this person's profile and like this post tomorrow, because I had already liked one today and I didn't want to come across as a stalker or get it lost in the feed. But I'm like, this post is really good. I want to make sure they know that I went to their profile 2 days in a row. Because when I reach out, they're going to be like, oh, Brian's been caring. I'm going to reply back to his message, right? And I think that element that you talk about there, be strategic, have the business goal in mind, and don't be afraid to zig when everyone else is zagging.
Yeah, that's a great point. Kind of moving on into this concept of leveraging social, there's a number of sales influencers that are out there, which are, phenomenal, well-known sales influencers, people that I've looked up to. And there's been a lot of stuff coming out from sales influencers that are talking about, stop listening to the people that are these quote unquote social networking gurus or social gurus. Just pick up the dang phone and make your phone calls. And social is not going to be the end all be all. Leveraging social networks is a long-term effect, not a short term. There's a lot of stuff that people are saying. So what's your perspective, your response to that? Sales influencers are saying, just pick up the phone, right? Call someone. Is it true? Is that what people should be doing? Or should they be doing both? Or should they be leveraging digital content that's out there and understanding their buyers to maybe pick up the phone and engage with them through social? Well, what is your thought?
So the first and foremost, I really do believe in doing your research for who you listen to, right? In this whole world, I mean, how we started off this show was, there's so much data available. Like, it really frustrates me when people listen to somebody without doing their own research to see if they can actually back up what they're talking about. If they wrote a book about Twitter 9 years ago and you blindly followed their direction in 2017, like, it's your fault, not their fault for giving you bad advice, right? Yeah. Let's set the stage there. But one of the things that I love in the pick up the phone concept is, if you're especially SaaS-based software, I do a lot of B2B stuff. If right now social selling is the hot thing and they're getting hammered with emails and in-mail, why not zag and pick up the phone? Why not be the person that goes the other direction? Because all of a sudden you're going to stand out. But at the same time, that's not using social media. It's actually using it for the power, because I think we get too confused thinking that social selling means your call to action is done on social. Social selling can be every aspect, from the initial relationship build to competitive intelligence to strategically letting people know that you care, like checking their profile, throughout the time, and all of a sudden they go, well, man, you've been staying up to date on me. So I like to set that piece of it as well. But then the other part is, it's my favorite part. I use a tool called Nimble, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with Nimble.
Yeah, we use it too.
Oh, John Ferrara, John Ferrara, big fan of his. I actually put in the comments section of every one of the people where they prefer to be communicated with. So if it's Facebook Messenger where they initiate the conversation, I put FBM, and it says Facebook. And I really focus on, if you want to get someone to say yes to you, it's keep it simple, stupid, right? Let's go to where they prefer to communicate. So my dad, for example, selling him with an email right now, he was watching my Facebook Live yesterday, and he was messaging me about it, and he was like, I still can't figure out, and he doesn't even have a Facebook profile. He has to use my mom's profile. That's where my dad's at. So I feel that pain very easily. But my dad was like, hey, I got a guy who went to my LinkedIn profile, understood what you did, Brian, sent me an email saying, hey, I follow your son. I really love what he's doing. He talks about how much you've influenced him. We should talk because we're both in the same line of business. And I was like, Dad, that's social selling right there. And he's like, yeah, but he replied and said he would call me and we did the conversation over the phone. And I was like, that's the power. Like, he would not have known you or you're associating with me or done the research or probably even had your contact information. Now all of that kind of came together and you're able to close a deal, which is on the preferred communication method. So I think that's a big piece of it. Also remember, social media for a lot of it right now is understanding what your customer's doing today, what your clients are doing today, while listening to where they're going tomorrow. Because they might not be on Snapchat. They might not even be on Facebook using it for professional reasons. But I ask every salesperson this: are you trying to reach the person that is pulling the trigger or the person that influences the person that pulls the trigger on social? And if they answer one or the other, I say they're wrong. You should be trying to look at both, right? Because, and I know you know that because I've seen your content, I've listened to your stuff, and we both believe in that side. And so whenever I look at things, there's a skinny jean company. I love to tell this story all the time. Their target audience is moms between the age of 35 and 50 years old. They're jeans and they're made specifically, for that target demographic. And they are super active on Snapchat. And people will come to me like, Brian, how did you get them into Snapchat? And I was like, well, we did our research and we realized the most influential people for the decisions on buying those mom jeans, they look at their kids and their kids' friends on what the cool brands are doing and what the cool events are doing and what celebrities are wearing. And their kids are the ones that say, hey, mom, you should go buy this brand jean because I saw, Kim Kardashian in it. And so we're not reaching the mom on Snapchat. We're actually reaching the influencer of the mom on Snapchat. And their results on Snapchat is amazing, to the point where a lot of the moms are like signing up for Snapchat for the first time just to follow the jean company. And so I look at social as a whole as you have to understand where your customer is today. And if they're not using Snapchat, don't put effort in the Snapchat for using it and blasting your message. But don't be afraid to keep listening and saying, what is the advantage of Snapchat or advantage of the new technology or live video? Because you want to make sure that you understand, because if that future customer ends up being a millennial or a Gen Z or be influenced by millennials or Gen Z, they probably are on these places that you haven't even thought about selling yet.
I have a new slide in our Your Brand Sucks keynote presentation. And the slide talks about the old way of selling and marketing and the new way. The old way is we picked up the phone and we sent emails and we got networking events and asked for referrals. That's really how we did it. And in the new way of selling, it's all of those things which still have not gone away, right? We may reach a buyer through the phone. We may reach a buyer through email. But the question is, are there other alternative channels that, as you said, go where the people are, that people want to engage on? And if you think about that, I have a client who will not return a phone call, who will not respond to my email, and we have full-on discussions, meeting planning, next steps through text messaging. Right? So, and by the way, this is a major Fortune 100 organization and a leader with a very large budget, right? So that's the way we communicate. And then there's other methods of communication, which is the social video, and then there's social selling. So I think the role of the marketer and the salesperson has gotten more complex for sure, because now we have to think about, as you said, your marketing and your CRM system, that this person likes to engage through Facebook Messenger. I would challenge any of the listeners right now to think about this. In your CRM system right now, for your contact that you're calling on, do you know the preferred methodology by which that person wants to communicate? Because it might be social, it might be email, it might be text messaging, it might be through sending videos, it might be through a phone call. I mean, there's at least 5 different ways. And also there's now the warm referral process where customers are actually referring business over to you as opposed to you having to ask them. So I think it's gotten more complex, but we have to realize that's why we get paid probably the big bucks in sales.
I closed my biggest deal. I live stream strategy with the Super Bowl, thanks to SAP, which of course, a big sponsor of that 49ers stadium as well. We did that all over Facebook group messenger with the head of SAP that was working with our side, because she knew she needed a fast response time. And I don't respond to email very fast because I get drowned. So I do a morning email dump and an evening email dump. That's where I consume. My millennial mind says that. If you want to get a hold of me during the other hours, it's a tweet that says, hey, Brian, check your DM or your email. It's a text message or it's Facebook Messenger. And we actually screenshotted it because we did it for one of our presentations. But we scheduled out everything. She's in the meeting needing some of these final details, Facebook messaging me and my business partner to close the Super Bowl deal for us to live stream 20 hours at the Super Bowl. all done via Facebook Messenger. And I mean, that example right there for me is not only did she go to where I prefer to be, but she also went where she knew she would get the most direct result for what she was trying to implement, right? And she probably could look at her data and say, Brian has opened 40 of my emails. Brian has responded to all of my texts, but his response to emails is 24 to 48 hours. His response to texts are, 2 hours. His Facebook message reply is 10 minutes. I'm going there, right? And I think as a salesperson, think of social that way. And it might be that, hey, they open all of our emails, but they don't ever close business with us unless they're on the phone. So like the phone might still be that best one. We just have to look at that data. I think that's part of the weird thing is, and I'm sure you get this more so than anywhere else, especially in sales, is we now have more data available to us from the customer's behaviors than we've ever had before. And the question becomes, how do I filter that and get it in a consumable method? Because I love real time. I love real time. It's a great real time video, live video conversations, but the right time is what sales needs, right? We don't need real time. Doesn't really matter. If you can have these conversations, I want it at the right time where this person's at a place where they're going to make the decision or they're going to be able to implement what I ask. And to do it at the right time, you have to have the data available to you and you have to be able to communicate with them where they prefer, which is why I make sure inside of that context say, hey, where do they prefer? And there's one of them that I think it's changed 11 times. It's a good friend, Ted Rubin. He's written a book, Return on Relationships. Yeah. His preferred method has changed 10 times, where now I have it in all capitals letters, must call Ted for advice. So, because he is to the point where he is so overwhelmed with digital, he's like, Brian, if you're not calling me, you might be multitasking and you might get distracted. If you don't call me, you're not getting a reply. And it's funny because today I have on my calendar, call Ted Rubin for something that we're doing at South by. And I think it's extremely important to monitor that, manage that, because if you want to get that yes, or you want to get that result, you have to keep it simple for that buyer.
No, absolutely. No doubt. I think it's a fantastic point. And actually, I think about this, sales enablement folks who are listening right now, there should probably be in the contact record, front and center, another field that actually says preferred method of communication in a CRM. Salesforce, Nimble, everybody else, all the CRM companies should literally put this inside there, because that is going to help a salesperson, and it's going to change, as you mentioned. It's going to help a salesperson, an entrepreneur, solopreneur, whatever it might be, to be able to drive revenue by communicating in the methodology at which somebody wants to communicate. And in some cases, you've got to leverage multiple channels. And to your point, yesterday, I was heads down. We're getting ready to launch a huge program for our 1-year anniversary. And I was heads down. I didn't check my Twitter feed. I didn't have time. I had almost 200 different messages and tweets on Twitter from a whole day. Now, you may get more, I don't know. But I spent an hour at like 12:30 nighttime going through this and like, what's important? What do I need to retweet? What do I need to like? What do I need to respond to? So you're absolutely right. It's going to get to that point where you may have to leverage multiple channels to get to your buyer based upon the fact that there may be so much coming at them.
Without question.
I want to move into talking about something that I know you love and I love as well. And that is the use of video. In my influencer training for the salesperson, not the marketing side, but for the salesperson, and how to influence your audience, I talk a lot about leveraging video, and I know that you love it as well. So what do you think? Agree or disagree? Should brands or individuals leverage video and live video to attract their audience? Why, and what is the benefit, if any? So
without question, and I'm going to use a Cisco stat. So 79% of internet traffic by 2020 will be video. Let me repeat that. 79% of internet traffic will be video in 2020. That's 3 years from now. So video is not going anywhere. The issue is that doesn't say it's good video, which is like really a problem because it's probably like 1.5% of that video will be quality video. But what video does, and this is why I believe so heavily on video, the distance between a digital relationship and your customer and client when you start engaging not on video is very far. You're not sure who they are. You're not sure their passion. It's hard to build up trust. And I always say, for Twitter relationship, not a transactional one directly, I would say sales to customer, but one that's, let's say, business partner or client partner relationship. It takes like 12 to 18 months of social engagement on Twitter to build up enough rapport to where you're like, hey, this is someone I would want to go in business with, or we need to move this into a true partnership. I believe video scales that to 30 to 60 days. And the reason is because it's really hard to hide the BS. It's really hard to not be who you are on video, especially live video. And I'll put this out there. The most popular phrase in live video that you can say today, and I tell it to everybody, we're working on 2 large Fortune 100 brands that are going to launch this part of this program. But I say the most powerful phrase is saying, I don't know. Yeah. Because when you're getting questions, this is participatory content. If you're able to say, I don't know, it adds validity to the things that you do know. And on live video, we're just looking for you to be human and you to be like us, right? And the reason I talked about it at the beginning is it shrinks that distance. You now put your pants on the same way I do. Yeah. And now that we're both on the same level, thanks to video, now I can start to trust you, right? And I think that window for video is powerful. Now, I know video is not for everybody. I also know video is scary. I've done almost a little over 2 years. I've done over 2,000 live videos, live streams, myself individually. And it took me about 800 to get to the point where I'm comfortable enough now to I fire it up and I go, right? That's kind of where I'm at. But part of the thing that I always tell people, your phone has 2 cameras, one on the front and one on the back. If video to you is scaring you, it's because you're only thinking about the front camera. If you think about it this way, when you're talking about your clients and your best success in sales, more often than not, it's customer testimonials, right? It's the customer telling you why your product is you're so good, not you as the sales guy telling them because they're expecting you to say that. Why not treat video the same way? Your first videos should be interviewing your customers, your clients, your partners, celebrating them, which then takes the pressure off of you. It gets you comfortable with sharing video and getting your story out there. But it's that connection now where, hey, this brand is interviewing and celebrating their clients, and I love their interview of these questions. Like, now I'm starting to build up that relationship, and video does scale that. But I think so many people get overwhelmed with the video because they only think about it being on themselves. And there are so many great brands. I make that statement all the time, especially, employee advocacy. Brands are great because they have great employees. It's time for you to prove that you trust your employees. Yeah. If you truly trust your employees, which you should, they're on your payroll. Don't go into influencer marketing if you can't even trust your employees, because why the heck would you trust an influencer that isn't even on your payroll? It isn't, the house over their head isn't a direct result of your company. But if you truly trust your employees, start empowering them to get on video and live video and letting them know that saying, I don't know, or let me get back to you and get that answer is okay. Because as soon as you do that, you shrink the distance, and all of a sudden you turn those viewers into fans and advocates and clients and customers at a faster rate than we've ever seen before. Video is that game changer. I believe video is going to shrink the entire digital space back down to the great brands with great people with great products are going to stand out. It doesn't matter how great you are at some of these other things that you used to be really good at. If you can't shrink the distance with video, you're going to be exposed. And I think the old way of, well, if I'm not on video, then at least I'm not doing something bad. Now, being not on video says you don't care enough. And I don't think any CEO is going to say, let's just let our customers think we don't care.
I love what you just said. And there are tools that are out there that reps can use, or entrepreneurs, solopreneurs can use, and then marketers definitely can use as well to be able to create video to connect with their targeted audience. And I think one of the things that people think about, especially on the sales side, when you talk about, hey, why don't you send them a video message, right? Use a tool like onemob.com.
Yes.
Right? Send them a video message. And then they sit there and they're like, oh, well, I'm not very good at video. I don't do video that well. I don't have the right backdrop. Are you freaking kidding me? Some of my best videos are right here. People can't see it, but Brian can. We're right here in my office, or in this office right here, and they're seeing a raw and unfiltered state. I challenge reps and marketers to think about this. When you do a virtual conference with your client, prospect, buyer, whatever you want to call it, and you turn on the video to have a face-to-face conversation, what do they see? The same exact office that I'm sitting in right now. So why on God's green earth would we not send them a video with the same exact background that we have when we talk to them live and in person?
Just want to jump in for a second because I think there's this other element of produced video comes across as forced trust.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of produced video for many great use cases.
Sure.
But if you want to come across as, hey, I'm giving a personalized message and just letting them know that I want to go a little bit above and beyond, don't put the background. Like my background right now is a whiteboard because I've been doing online course videos. But usually there's whiteboard material all over this. If anybody follows me on social, they know like whiteboards floor to ceiling. Oftentimes I'm on my couch. But it's that element. I'm so glad you brought that because I think this is also one of those things. Are you bad at video have people given you feedback that you're bad at video, or you haven't tried video enough to know if you're bad, right? Like, it's one of those weird things where someone's like, oh my God, I'm so horrible on video. I'm like, your home VHS of like waking up Christmas morning with your kids and you're frustrated because you were up being Santa until 4 a.m, that doesn't count as being bad on video. Right. And you're not trying to replace Oprah or Ellen DeGeneres. The video, it's so funny when someone tells me, Brian, I can never be great on video because I'm not like, and they talk about someone that's on the TV. And I'm like, nobody is. Like, you're doing this from your phone. Like, let's bring this whole world back down to reality. And the person you're selling to, they don't want Oprah or Ellen. They just want to know that you care about them a little bit more than you care about somebody else. And the easiest way to do that, personalized video. I love the tools that are available. I think limitations inspire creativity. And so if you want to be creative, like if your limitation is it's really noisy outside and you want to just send them a video, like go hunker underneath like a wind, like outside of a Starbucks and be like, hey, I was going to send you the video, but Starbucks is really loud, but I didn't want you to think I didn't care. Like putting that human vulnerability side on it, all of a sudden you're like, wow, they still went out of their, like that even comes across more powerful than you went back to your home studio, you set up everything behind you and you send that video and like, we want to, because that comes across as, oh, what do they want from me? They're setting me up, right? And I think that's where this personalization of letting your vulnerabilities around you be exposed is really how you change the game. It's how you stand out. But it isn't easy. I know like there's probably people listening like, yeah. Like I'm not going to wear a hat and get on video. Like there's baby steps, right? Like you don't have to like all of a sudden be transparent and show everything like the dirty dishes behind you. Yeah. But there are steps and things that you can do to come across more personalized and not have to overwhelm yourself.
Well, and the other thing too, is you think about it, when I talk to sales and marketers and they say that they're scared of this video concept, I ask them, I said, so does that mean you actually never go out face-to-face in person with your clients? No, of course not. I see them or I talk to them all the time. Wait a minute. So you're not bad in person, but you're bad on being recorded in person.
I have a book for your audience and it's called Vlog Like a Boss. It's my good friend Amy just launched this book. And majority of the book is about getting over the fear of video. And she has a chapter in here where she talks about how you transition your mindset from talking to a camera to talking to a person that is on the other end of the camera. If you're a salesperson, salespeople are so great at talking to people. It's what we do best, right?
Exactly.
Where you're passionate. If you can take this concept and all of a sudden, rather than thinking of it being a camera, thinking about that person that you are talking with, it'll change your world when it comes to video. So yeah, Vlog Like a Boss. Good friend Amy has it out there, but definitely worth checking out.
Well, we'll put that into the show notes and maybe you can ask Amy if she'd want to join Selling with Social. I'd love to have her.
I think actually I was texting with her earlier because we're working on a big project together. I will happily make that introduction.
Beautiful. Listen, we're running it short on time here, but I know that you're coming out with a book. Am I wrong?
You are right.
Do I understand that correctly? Spring of 2017?
It's probably gonna be more summertime now than springtime. But yeah, the book is a millennial mindset. And what it is I'm a millennial, but I always say I'm a pager wearing millennial. And what that means is I don't have a pager now, but I did have a pager at one point. And when I graduated college and Facebook was launched, I couldn't qualify for Facebook because I didn't have an EDU address. And the whole point of this book is that, we talk about millennials and this new customer, but we forget that millennials are just like the rest of us in many cases. And so the byline of the book is, it's not the year you were born, but your ability to embrace change, collaboration, and community. And so it's really about this digital change world. And I interview a 74-year-old gentleman named Warren Whitlock, who is my oldest millennial. And, he goes through and he talks about, he's teaching me things in a digital space. He's open-minded to digital change. And the last chapter, you walk through kind of like a guided question asking like, do you want to be heard in your business? Do you care about the future of the world? And you end up getting a millennial mindset card at the end, because I believe so much of this change, community, and collaboration, we all want it. We just somehow dump it on different generations, and that's kind of the focus of the book. So it's exciting. I've been writing it for about 3.5 years, and I kind of shelved it and decided I was going to write a different book about live video. And as I was doing that, I kind of got hit with this idea where everyone was coming to me to help them change, and I was changing before I was kind of putting out the manifesto on a millennial mindset. So millennial mindset, I've pushed forward with that, and so it should be out summertime. So majority of the stuff will end up going on my website. So isocialfans with a Z.com is the place, but I also have iSocial Fans with an S, because let's face it, we have to own our digital footprint. So if you misspell it, you'll get redirected to my website as well. But I appreciate you mentioning the book, and it'll be exciting. I'm excited to make it happen.
All right. Well, you got to promise me that you'll come back to Selling with Social. We'll do a book review and a podcast.
Without question, I'm in. Let's do it.
All right. Awesome. Well, listen, before I let you go, just a couple questions. You gave your sites that people can get a hold of you. People want to connect with you. They want to follow you. What should they do? Where should they go?
So I created my FOMO Fans podcast to give people like that one home. Like, hey, I can tune in once a week. I don't have to get distracted by Brian. But I also believe one of the things I didn't talk on the show yet, but it's probably the most important, is in this digital world with so many distractions, one of the most fundamental things you can do is be consistent. And so I try to practice that where I preach. So every channel, so you can literally Google iSocial Fans. You can put it into LinkedIn. You can do it into Instagram. You can do it into Facebook. iSocial Fans, lowercase I at the front, is my personal brand, and it's everywhere. And I made sure that every channel you can find me easily. But if you want to get rapport back and forth, Twitter is my favorite. Twitter's really changed my business, changed my personal world. So if you want to get something right away, check out iSocial Fans on Twitter. But I welcome anyone to message me anywhere and everywhere. And if you're an email person, it's brian@isocialfans.com. Feel free to send me an email.
All right. We'll make sure to put that into the show notes. 2 questions. All-time favorite movie. What is it?
Heat.
Heat
So you have Robert De Niro and Al Pacino face to face. Heat. It's from 1998, I believe, 99.
Okay.
So Heat's one of my. That's my all-time favorite.
Awesome. And favorite motivational quote or something that inspires you?
I really think for me, it's keep it simple, stupid right now. Okay. I think simplicity is so damn hard, and working hard is so damn easy that all I do is say, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And that's what keeps me motivated, keeps me inspired, because I think if we can simplify everything, we'll be motivated and do bigger things.
Awesome. Well, Brian, man, it's been fantastic having you on Selling with Social, man. I'm super excited to have spent this time with you. I know that we're going to have a great time talking about your book when it comes out. So make sure that you come back to us when the book launches, and we'll do something there for the book.
Sounds like a plan. I appreciate it. And hopefully we'll connect offline sometime soon. I spent enough time in California. We'll have to make that happen.
I'd love to. All right, man. Thanks a lot for joining. Everybody stay tuned for this message. Thanks for listening to the Selling with Social podcast. I'm super pumped that you are our guest today. Here's what I want you to do right now. Go to jr.com/podcast and support our podcast, please, by distributing it out anywhere you can get it to on social. And don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes. You'll find all the instructions there on the site on how to subscribe to the Selling with Social podcast. Until the next show, keep on rocking. Mario Martinez Jr. out.